talking about Rogue One, and this time we want to discuss the spoilers.
Yeah, so
any spoilers you want. I mean, I don't really want to purposely look for what's the most spoiling thing we could possibly say. It's more like just what are things you want to talk about that
now we can basically
could be considered spoilers.
Talk about the movie a little bit more freely. So right off the bat, the big thing that I want to talk about is the CGI on the characters of Peter Cushing and of Princess Leia, and how jarring they were. I think they did a very, very good job with the CG. It's probably the best facial animation CG I've ever seen.
I was going to ask you, in comparison to what?
But it didn't look real.
Well, CG is never going to look real.
Right.
It's kind of like, okay, you got PlayStation 1 graphics.
Yeah.
Then you got PlayStation 2 graphics, and it just keeps getting better, but it's never going to look like real life.
These are probably PlayStation 6 graphics, and they look fucking, I know, that's not out, but they look really, it looks really, really, really good.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look real.
If you put it this way, let's say you start with Rogue One, for whatever reason, this was your first Star Wars movie. You'd get to Governor Tarkin, and then you'd start wondering, why is this one character CG? Say you never knew who Peter Cushing is. Yeah. But here's the thing,
there's so much CG in the movie that you might not give a shit anyway.
Yeah, but you'd be like, here's a human character. Why is this guy CG?
Right.
But there is a reason, because it's fucking Peter Cushing. That blew my mind, actually, because I didn't know that they were going to go that far and try to actually bring. So I actually really love that they did that. That even though we could, you could tell CG, we know they didn't really bring Peter Cushing back from the dead, but just seeing him in a movie, I was like, holy fucking shit! I'm watching Peter Cushing in a movie, and because they start with the back of the head, and he has a reflection on the glass, and I'm like, okay, they're not going to do it. He's not going to turn around. And then he does. He turns around, and it blew my mind.
What I have to say, though, is you and I are both fans of the Hammer,
Hammer horror films.
Hammer horror films, and I'm a huge fan of him in the Sherlock Holmes movies and everything. Peter Cushing's one of my favorite actors of all time.
Yeah.
And to take a great actor like Peter Cushing and CG him and take away his performance of an actor, because this is the most robotic performance of anything I've ever seen. He just delivers lines and then they cut away because it's all CG. And I know I understand that it's a tribute to him, and that's great. And I'm so glad that they're giving a tribute to such a great actor. But you can never replace the real guy, because he was so good. He was such an awesome actor, and I felt like the performance was so stilted by it being CGI.
Well, you know what? I thought, more than the CG, I thought, actually the voice wasn't great.
It didn't sound like him,
Yeah, but the thing is, and normally I would never criticize that, because, how hard is it to, make you believe you're watching a dead actor on the screen?
Sure.
Again? But the voice, I think, just because it's a multi-million-dollar movie, I just think they could have probably gotten somebody who could sound exactly like him. I think there's got to be somebody out there who could have done it, and
they went to so much trouble to make his face look as good as they did. Not perfect, but pretty darn good.
Yeah.
That you think that they would have got the voice better. That seems like the easier job.
Now, when he first turned around, there was that one moment, that initial moment when he turns around. I actually was kind of, my belief was totally suspended. My disbelief was suspended, because I just saw him and I was just like, wow, holy crap! It kind of confused me for a second. I was almost thought it was like him.
Right.
Like I was seeing a ghost or something. It kind of really
it
got a real reaction.
Quite a marvel, because I think it's the first time, at least in any major movie blockbuster like this, that they've done something like that.
Yeah.
And there's been talk of them doing that kind of thing for a long time. In Star Trek with Brent Spiner, he stopped playing the role and had the character killed off because androids aren't supposed to age. So he would
come up with a reason.
He would always say maybe someday they'll do a computer graphics thing. So if they ever do a next gen movie, maybe they'll be just like Governor Tarkin in this movie. So that whole thing was really interesting. but I think it was a little jarring with a stilted performance. But it was cool to see nonetheless, and it was a cool tribute to.
Yeah, I'm glad they did it, but
yeah,
it
I am
wasn't
too,
perfect.
actually.
Yeah, but it wasn't perfect.
Yeah, no, it wasn't.
It's more perfect than anything I've seen so far. Like, there was a lot of Terminator Salvation. They had the young Arnold in it, and that was like the first time I've seen something like that done. And then Tron Legacy, they had Jeff Bridges with the old Jeff Bridges acting with the young Jeff Bridges. So I think this is kind of like a new experiment that they're doing in film. I'd like to see where this could go and how many dead actors could we see again. Like, could we see Bela Lugosi in a movie? Could you imagine?
That'd be awesome. They should put him into the new. They should put all the old Boris Karloff into the new.
No,
let's not get on that subject. Though we're gonna get totally off course.
Now I know there probably is another aspect to that none of these actors can give their consent to it. So it's kind of that is kind of a weird thing when you think about, like, there's no way.
Like, who did they ask to be able to put Peter Cushing in there?
Exactly.
Like, ask his family or something.
I'm sure they probably got somebody to sign off, like some family member. I would imagine. So I don't know.
Yeah. So let's go to the other big spoiler of the movie. Since this is the spoiler video, let's talk about Darth Vader.
Well, he's in the trailer, so we know he's in it. But
about him being in the movie,
Yeah.
what did you think of Vader in the movie?
Let's see. Well, I like that they gave him the red tinted lenses, like in New Hope. I think they might have went a little too far. I think it was a little too red. But I had to compare it. But anyway, I thought Darth Vader was great. He was a little bit more wise ass than usual, I think. Like when he says, like, what was it? Like, don't choke on your aspiration.
Yeah.
He was like, okay, like, I don't think he would have said anything that, like one-liner type thing.
He wasn't in the movie very much. He might have like 7 minutes runtime in the whole movie.
Maybe.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And the big scene and the part that everybody coming out of this movie is talking about is his big scene at the end where he, people are saying it's like he goes full on horror, like Jason Voorhees type of thing.
That was awesome.
It was cool to see. I think that they could have easily went further with it, and I feel like the reason that they probably didn't do more with it is probably because at some point later they could do an entire Darth Vader movie, which I'm sure is in the woodworks.
So it would be like Darth Vader.
Who knows what the plot would be, but
or like when it would be. Like,
because if you think about it, they just have to have the costume and the mask. They could have Darth Vader movies forever because you don't have to rely on.
I mean, as long as they have James Earl Jones, but I'm sure that even after,
if they're going to replace Peter Cushing, they'll probably have no problems replacing James Earl Jones.
Yeah, they just have to get a different, a James Earl Jones type voice for it. The ending with Vader was amazing. That was like one of the moments that really got me excited. And then when they went into that one hall, and then you realize where they are, and it's the beginning of New Hope.
Yeah,
that was cool.
That whole scene I did like a lot. The third act of the movie, when it starts to pick up pace a little bit more, was the entertaining part of the movie to me. I really liked when all the rebel ships came in. It reminded me of a scene right out of Return of the Jedi or something. And so I really enjoyed that section of the movie.
Oh, it reminded me of. I really loved how they show what it looks like when a ship's in fast speed and then they stop. Like, I don't think we've ever really seen that, have we?
I think they did that in Force Awakens a little bit.
Oh, okay.
I think.
Yeah,
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, we saw it a lot in this one, is that just all the ships are just appearing. I thought that was cool to see.
Oh, yeah, no, they've definitely done that before.
Yeah. Oh, and at one point they actually, like, smashed into a Star Destroyer that was, like, coming out of
that was
light
pretty
speed.
Cool,
And, I was like, wow, I've always wondered if that could happen when, all these ships are, like, going at fast speeds. So
another thing I want to talk about is some of the other cameo moments in the movie, such as when they are going through the town and they see the dude from the cantina and and he's got like the pig face and all
That's
that.
right, yeah.
There's moments like that where they're throwing in more minor characters that unless you're a hardcore fan, you probably won't recognize that character unless you watch the original movies like a bunch. So I'd be curious actually to go through this movie and see how many Easter eggs there are. I'm sure there's a ton of characters in the background, and I thought I saw the what is the name of the monster on Hoth that captures Luke?
The Wampa?
The Wampa. Yeah. I think I saw some Wampas in there.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty sure, at least. There's all kinds of cool stuff. I thought that the blind character, what did you think of him? He was the one character, other than, I guess, Vader, that had the Force. He was...
Yeah. I mean, like, again, like, there was none of the characters really, like, connected with me that much. It wasn't really just, like, they weren't memorable. Like, I didn't come out of the movie being like, oh, yeah, that character was great, and that character, like, it was kind of, like, where Force Awakens, I liked Rey and Finn and Poe and everybody, and this one, it was...
And that's so funny that you say that. You're like, Rey and Finn and Poe. You actually remember their names a year later.
Yeah.
We just saw this movie.
I mean, I have seen it a few times, though, too.
Okay.
But even if I've seen it once, I'm pretty sure I remember most of their names.
I don't remember anybody's name in this movie unless they were in a previous Star Wars movie.
Oh, do you remember Darth Vader's name?
I said unless they were in a previous.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of the characters didn't click with me very much. But so what other big moments were in this movie? This is where we got into something.
It was just, the thing is, it was just a movie. Like, it wasn't the big event Star Wars movie. It was just kind of like these short snippets of, wow, look, it's Darth Vader again, and Governor Tarkin, and then Princess